Alright, so we got our education in there. Now it's time to have some skills, or write some skills. So the deal with your additional skills or hobbies is that this is a place where, again, if you don't have a ton of work experience, you can kind of compensate by showing them that you do have some of the qualifications you need, even though you haven't actually worked in a job that does that thing. Um, or on the other hand, I've used this area for other jobs where, again, maybe I've worked in a particular field, but I have these other skills that make me more interesting and more useful to an organization. So I list out these skills that I have that make them understand that, yes, he hasn't done work in this field, but he actually has those skills, and that's something that adds something and makes me different or a more interesting candidate than somebody else. So this is where you're going to put things like computer skills are really important to put in there. Languages is probably the most important. If you speak another language, absolutely, absolutely emphasize that and probably put it at the top. Volunteer work can go in here, but again, if you don't have a ton of job experience, you should probably put your volunteer work up in your experience section. Sports and interests, right? Be careful with the interests. Don't go too crazy, but I'll give you some examples of interests that might be useful. So in this case, what you'll see is put some computer skills. I use Google Apps at school, for instance. I know Gmail, Docs, Sheets, Slides, Calendar, Google Drive. That's important. Put that down. It might seem kind of weird, especially if you're comfortable using it and you use it all the time, but that's actually really important for people to know because they want to know that you can use these tools. Say I'm trying to work at Google especially, right? I want to put that down. If I used Microsoft Office, I use PowerPoint, Excel, absolutely put all of those down, okay? Maybe I have done some other things. I've done web design with Squarespace. That might not seem special. Maybe that's something I play around with on my own at home, but that is still important. Maybe I know how to use Photoshop because I've played with it, or if not Photoshop, I could be like digital um, art with and like name the program you've used, okay? Right, like those are all really important, any kind of technology that you've used and that you're comfortable with, okay? Another thing that people don't really think about is social media. So maybe you built Facebook pages for my school, right? Social media use is actually kind of a really important thing for an internship. Sometimes you'll be managing a site or uploading photos, and just knowing that you know how to do that is actually useful. So that is something that you might be doing on your own that's worth putting in there. If they don't find it important, they just won't look. So that's an interesting thing you can do with that skill site. Another thing, right? Conversational Spanish I've put here, right? Language is huge, huge, huge. So, but you got to be honest about what level you're at. So conversational means, right? I can kind of hang my own, hold my own. Sorry. I understand what's going on, but maybe I have difficulty in some conversations. I don't always have the right vocabulary. If you're fluent, that means you can hang in any conversation and it's just as comfortable to you as any other language, or maybe even more, right? Fluent, if you're fluent, put that there. And honestly, if you're fluent in a language other than English, say Spanish, Vietnamese, something else, Chinese, put that up there right at the top. Let them see that because, again, that's a really important thing. Lots of people want people with different language skills, and you need to highlight that. And if you put it at the top, they'll be sure to see it. The stuff that you put at the bottom is the stuff that you should put that's maybe not as important, right? So that's where like sports and things go. But maybe I play on a football team. It might be interesting for people to know. Other interests, right? Like maybe I paint, right? Maybe I do digital photography, right? These might be interesting things. And really, the reason you want to put some hobbies and interests down there is just to show people that you are interested in things, that you're going to put in some time to get better at these. You'll use your own time to do some work. So it might seem like these skills aren't really worth putting there, but I'm telling you, like, you never know what might be a useful thing for the job that you're doing, or what might be something that differentiates you from the other people applying for that job. Now, you don't want a skill list that's like 100 things. Really, I'd probably cap it at about the size that I have now, maybe even a little smaller, but like five to six, 7 things. If those 7 things are really strong and useful, put them there. Otherwise, about 5 is really the top, sometimes even less, right? But again, make sure you get that language and really make sure you get the computer skills. Everything else, is kind of something that you could leave off and probably wouldn't hurt you too bad if it comes down to it.